I'm going to be speaking about protocols and what are protocols. Protocols are an established order to guide all our actions so we achieve a predictable and desired result. Protocols, established order that guides all our actions so we achieve a predictable and desired result. Protocol refers to a set of established rules, guidelines, or standards that governs behavior, communication, or interaction between systems or entities. They define the format, timing, structure of data exchange, requests, ensuring consistency, accuracy, and reliability. So let me just give you a very practical example. Every time you add 2 molecules of hydrogen and 1 molecule of oxygen, what do you get? H2O. Isn't it? What will that give you? Water. That's a predictable result. It doesn't change. So the protocol, if you want to do, is that you take 2 molecules of hydrogen, you take 1 molecule of oxygen, and you will definitely get H2O. If you take 1 molecule of carbon and you add 2 molecules of oxygen, what would you get? CO2. What is CO2? Carbon dioxide. So it's predictable. So when we talk about protocols, if you are in the medical field, there are protocols you follow. In the pharmaceutical field, protocols you follow to make sure that every paracetamol that it comes on the market or every drug comes on the market has followed an established set of guidelines and principles to guarantee that when somebody takes the medicine, he doesn't die. He will rather get life. Can you understand that? Now, especially when it comes to those of us who preach and we give life. Listen carefully. Jesus Christ said, I came that they might have life. So your preaching must give life. It must not kill. Because you can follow established protocols that allow that every time you minister, you give life. Anything that gives life, the exactness or the precision is very accurate. If you change CO2 and you reduce the molecule of oxygen by 1, what do you get? CO. Carbon monoxide. It kills. So if you want to give life, you are very precise. And that is why you see, for those of us who, anything that gives life is not handled by people who are reckless or people who are shoddy or people who just say anything. I remember I invited, when we were young, there was a young man who went to preach somewhere. He was going, call me to a hash and shop. You go and bend the sea. I think he was taking an offering. He got angry. And I was like, what is it? And he said, you are sick. You know, some of those statements from the pulpit, it's foul. So when I talk about established protocols, you need to understand that there must be a strict regime and way of doing things that we will always give life and give it more abundantly. So if you buy paracetamol, you know that you're not buying chalk. And you know that paracetamol will help your headache. Isn't it? So take this thing we are saying very seriously, because there are too many untrained people who are trying to give life. And they end up creating mayhem. Okay? I personally believe that the pulpit must be guarded for people who understand divine protocols. John chapter 14, verse 6. Protocols can be found in various contexts. For example, diplomacy. So, in diplomatic relationships, you have an ambassador who can't speak anyhow. He can't speak his mind. Isn't it? He must speak what the government says, and he must present it in a way. He can't just go and use any language. You are a fool, you are a fool. No, even if you feel your person is a fool, there's a way protocol demands that you speak. If you disagree, there's a way protocol demands that you speak. Wow. Reverend Dr. Emmanuel Kobna, answer. That's my former president. We'll talk about him. He's such a noble person. When I got born again, he was already born again, and he was the person who trained us. And he's a very astute theologian. And I'm sure that what he shares, he's a teacher of the gospel, very credible, has integrity. And I'm very sure that what he shares with us will be very insightful. So hurry up and get me off the scene so that the big man can come. The only thing is that I'm older than him. And no matter what he does, he will never catch up. I'm older than him by 6 days. So that's fine. And we went to the same school, primary school, Datus. And then I went to a better school. He also went to a good school. Kwaboche. I went to Kwaboche. Okay, I'll finish preaching. When you come, don't come and fight. Okay. So in diplomatic circles, there's a way we speak. So you are representing a government. So always remember also that when you stand on the pulpit, you don't represent yourself. So you can't say what you think. You see, you must speak as the oracle of the living God. And that is why you take time and listen to God. There are people who are hurting, you don't wound them. You need surgical precision to bring healing, not to cut people. Okay? Some time back we thought that if we give it to them, then we have preached. No. We have matured. We want to bring people into a recovery and give them life. So at the end of the day, whatever I say, even if it cuts, it must heal you. Okay? So that is why you need training. Because everybody who gives life is trained. Nobody is arbitrary. And I'll say this just before I continue. See, no matter how long you stay in a hospital, you don't become a doctor. So no matter how long you stay in the church, you don't become a pastor. If you want to become a doctor, you go for training. So if you want to become a pastor, so what? If you're a nurse, you don't become a doctor because you stay there long. You see, so there are things we need to start learning and applying. This pulpit is sacred. And it must be in the hands of people who are trained to give life. We'll come back to that. So there's also protocols for scientific research. There are protocols for medicines and healthcare. If you went to a doctor or a healthcare facility, they'll take your, what do they call it, vitals. You know, they don't just say, do this and do this. I remember going to Kolebu, and I said recently, not too long ago, and I said I had some back pain. And the guy just said, listen, before I touch you, go and do an x-ray and bring it. I begged the guy. He says, no way. Till I see the x-ray, I'm not going to touch you. Guess what? We called somebody who also has a physiotherapy, whatever it is. And he said, Mama, you know, some of you are getting massage. In fact, the first massage we had complications. So I go to Kolebu, a teaching hospital. They tell me before anybody can touch me in Kolebu, I need to show an x-ray so that they will look at it and be able to tell me what exactly I require. Protocols. Bibiaye Mompaye. Bompaye. Every protocol, Bompaye. We've got to be careful. Then in business, there are protocols that define our transactions. So in John chapter 14, verse 6, we're going to establish something. What does it say? Jesus saith unto him, I am the way, I am the truth, I am the life. No man cometh unto the Father but by me. So you see the protocol. He says, hey, no matter who you are, if you want to come to the Father, there's a way you must go through. You cannot get to the Father any other way. So a church must establish protocols that guide its operation, that if you want to achieve something, this is the way. This is the truth. This is the life. You see, when we begin to bypass protocols, we create problems. If you want to go to Achimota or Kwabotre or whatever it is, this is the way. You see, the reason why Ghana is so, or many countries are so messed up, is because we bypass the way. It's not that we are bad people. So again, as a minister, are you interested in the way? Jesus said, anybody, if you really want to get to that desired end, this is the way. And this is the truth. And this is the life you must lead. This is the way you must walk on. This is the truth you must follow. This is the life you must lead. So, can you live anyhow? Because you define it. Jesus has the way. He has said the way. Can you do anything anyhow? Jesus says, this is the life. Can you behave anyhow? No. So you see, you don't come into the kingdom and decide, as for me, this is how I behave. As for me, this is how I was born. As for where I stay, this is how we should do it. If you want to buy a Mercedes Benz, the price doesn't change because your father died or because you live in Choco. If you want to enter Achimota, the price, the grades don't change because, as for you, your father died early or you are poor. Life has standards that if you want to enter, you must follow. You have no excuse. So you can't have say the church in Choco is different from the church in Airport. No. As for we, the way we lead praise and worship is our style. It's different from the way it's done. As far as we come late, we are Ghanaians, we are Africans. It's so unestablished protocols. So no matter what, one of the things that must all define. You see, one of the churches I follow a lot is ICGC. And one of the churches I've studied is Pentecost. I've studied ICGC when the founder is alive. And I've studied Church of Pentecost when the founders are gone. And I look at what they do, how they do it. And I say, if I want my church to become like this, then this is the way. So forget about the fact that, as for me, I'm in a village where there's no chemistry teacher. If I want to enter medical school, the excuses don't matter again. I have to learn the chemistry or the physics, whether I have a teacher or not. So stop giving yourself excuses why you allow mediocrity. Because there's an established way. There are established protocols. There's established behaviors. You come and take the mic. The first thing is, what is the established way to come up the stage? You come to church. What is the established way to enter a church? Look at the tabernacle and follow the protocols. I remember one of my pastors, when I tried to establish protocols, and I said, those days we started service at 7 o'clock or 7:30. So I was in my office, and 7:30, I realized that they hadn't started a meeting. So I just came from my office, and I took the mic, and he was running. What I did to him, he stopped. From that day, we all follow the way, the truth, the life. If you start giving excuses why carbon dioxide should become carbon monoxide, you start creating mayhem. So I ask you a simple question. Are we all prepared to follow the way, the truth, and the life? The truth may be bitter. It will cost you to sacrifice. It may cause you to wake up early. It may cause you to pay school fees where you don't feel like paying. But that's the protocols. And don't complain. You see, when you break protocols, don't blame another person. Because there are too many people who are not prepared to. And as for me, because I've been a member of the church, so as for me, I won't do it. You see, you are hurting yourself. Because God won't change it because He's no respecter of persons. So, the last time I checked, He's no respecter of persons. I am the bishop. I am the senior pastor. So as for me, when I sit down pray, I'll cross my legs. It doesn't work that way. So I've learned to maintain a sense of humility and service. That's why I showed you about the attitudes. So it's important. Don't ever think about breaking protocols because you are the pastor's wife. My wife, she knows, and this church, everybody knows. My wife will sit down before I come in. And she will stay in the service. And she won't sleep. And she won't go out. And she won't do anything during the service that she shouldn't do. Don't give yourself privileges that you are not entitled to. Because it will cost you. You see, I am the way. And everybody who wants to, it says that the path that leads to life is straight and narrow. And few find it. Many people are walking on the Broadway. Many. So you want to become like them? No. All the people who do well in school, they are few and narrow. They are learning. They are not chasing girls. They are in the classroom. They are doing their homework. They are doing this. They follow that path. So you choose your examples carefully. And if there aren't good examples in your area, go outside like Josiah. Go back to David. Go back to your father was a grand witch. And so your father was not a good example. Go back to David's time and open the books and look for that good example and follow it. Because the worst thing is to have a bad example. So as a pastor, I must be an example of what? Love. I must be an example of life. I must be a good example of integrity. Not just talent. The protocols must be, the requirements of a just God cannot be flouted with impunity. Here are some of the practical examples of protocols to follow in a church. Number one, what is the way, the truth, and the life for church membership? How do you become a church member? Very clear. So, Pastor, I've been coming to church. I'm a church member. I've been going to Achimota school. Doesn't make me a student. I've been visiting Ghana. Doesn't make me a Ghanaian. What is the requirement? Go and register. Fill a membership form. Get a tithe card. Depending on what. You see, the protocol's clear. It's important. So that you can then provide good care for your members. If anybody does not look after his own, so you must have your own. Because sometimes people who are not members place more time, more demands on your time. No. You can get angry. You won't have us. You can be my closest friend if you don't qualify the protocols. You don't qualify to enter Achimota if you didn't pass the exam. You don't say, my father is the headmaster. My mother's best friend is a teacher, so because of that I'm entitled. That entitlement mentality creates problems. Everybody must have a system of being treated fairly, not equally. Did you understand that? Because protocols establish order. Number two, you must have protocols for leadership, appointment of leadership. So you don't appoint leaders just because they are gifted. How do you make somebody A or B, prayer warrior leader, ashes leader? What are the things that you look for? It must be very clear so that it's not favoritism. It's not nepotism. It's not tribalism. All the pastors in the church are from that village. No. Fairness. So how do you appoint leaders? Because me, I've been working with a pastor. I'm important. What is the criteria? The way, the truth, the life. Because he gives money. The way, the truth, the life. so that everybody can be treated fairly. So somebody can't just become a pastor. I've told my church members, if I announce that anybody is a pastor, the church members should clap for the person. Because they know. Because there's a 7-point system you go through. And you should have proved. So when you become a pastor, it's not a mistake. And now before you become a pastor, you must go to Bible school. You must. I told you, you don't become a doctor because you stay in the hospital. You can be a patient. Simple. So that when we are not there, we can guarantee that the person we've led the word to, we've told and sacrificed and led the word to, is well trained theologically to make sure that you can stick to the biblical principles. Not every revelation is godly. Because there are some revelations that look nice at the moment, but it appeals to the flesh. So it's important. Appointment of leadership. Number 3, financial protocols. How do you establish procedures for handling donations, offerings, and expenses? Who receives offering? How are they counted? How is money spent? That's a very thorny area. How do you withdraw cash? How do you spend it? How do you account for it? It's very important that you develop financial protocols. Who can take an offering? I remember when the church started, there were people going around doing personal fundraising. Before I realized, Aja envelopes. It was serious, Choco. They send envelopes and they say, "Me raise shikaki afi neke, you have more envelopes. Yeah, he can afi harvest." And the pastor doesn't know about it. So you need to establish it. We had a dawn prayer meeting, and they were taking offering, I didn't know, and then we were buying bread and tea. So Saturday morning you come, there's a tea party here. Minister, what offering work at 2 of you work here. Who asked you to take offering? So establish it. Otherwise you have a lot of internal conflicts with tea and bread. Okay. Number 4, church administration. Establish protocols for social events. Pastor Nim Papa Oba care me. Did you tell me? Did you tell the administration? Pastor Nim care some more. No. The fact that I know something doesn't mean you've told the church. Because I may forget. So come to the church office, fill a form. Then the church knows, and then the people will be informed. Pastor Nkebu. No. You see, you are creating problems for me. So have established protocols for social events, weddings, and have a schedule for meetings, and which pastor, at a certain point, not every pastor should be at every wedding or funeral. Because you will wear them out. So if there's a wedding in February, a FIBA, if there's a wedding in March, Mansa, if there's a wedding in June, Pastor Hammond. Because I can't go to every wedding, I can't go to every funeral. In fact, at a certain point, I don't go out. I don't attend funerals, I don't attend weddings. You see, the important thing is to get a service, not a personality. Sometimes we build personality issues. Pastor Bamene wedding, Bamene wedding, Pastor Swan Sunday. Eliminate that by protocols. So I don't attend weddings, for example. I don't attend wedding receptions. I don't attend funerals. If I come, I'm coming on my own. Maybe as a friend or something. But not because, you see, the church is an organization that runs. It's different from your if you get personally attached, you may create divisions. And many young churches are not able to break that, because when the church starts, the pastor has to go for every adoring, has to go for every funeral. So when you are withdrawing, no pastor bar, but you have to pay the price to free the church. Otherwise, every Saturday, all the pastors, all the cell leaders, all of you are attending funeral, and at a certain point, it will be too much. It will be too much. So have protocols. The way, the truth, and the life. Nobody comes to the Father except by me. If you want an appointment with the senior pastor, what do you do? What's the way? What's the truth? What's the life? People call me and say, Pastor Mintoshka, Beje Bang Jimmy. Pastor Imbile and Toneke, go to if you qualify, the way, the truth, and the life. You'll get it. And it has nothing to do with pastor likes me. Even if I'm quarreling with you, you'll get it. Because the church is not a personal property. It's an organization with rules and regulations and protocols. So if everybody is getting 100 cedis, nobody can deny you 100 cedis. If you qualify for a scholarship, there's a way, there's a truth, and there's a life. If you want people to attend your funeral, you can't give them 1 week notice. There's a minimum notice you must give so that people can prepare. So you can't come and say, Afun Papa Woy. You can't come and rush us and change our schedules. And when I Saturday, what plan meeting? No, Afun Papa Woy. Sorry. There's the way, there's the truth, there's the life. You see, you may not like it, but it will free you. Number 5, communication protocols. Clearly define communication channels and expectations for your staff, your members. Establish a process for sharing information, making announcements, and providing updates. By the grace of God, now we don't have announcements from the pulpit. We don't. It's a waste of time. WhatsApp groups, cell leaders, pass the information to them. Let them share it. So everybody join a department, be on a WhatsApp group, so you know what is happening. Otherwise, after preaching, I'm going to have 30 minutes announcing funerals and weddings and weekday meetings and reminding people, and you dilute the message. Meanwhile, our services are 2 hours, 1.5 hours. So we can have 3 services on a Sunday and utilize our time. Somebody hasn't paid transport and come all the way from Lashibi to come and sit here and listen to funeral announcements. Women's group, announce it. Men's group, announce it. So that we can be efficient. Number 6, worship protocols. Develop a plan for worship services. Develop a plan. When I say worship service, I'm thinking of maybe a Sunday order of service, including your music, including preaching, including sacraments. How often? Don't just wake up and say, oh, today we should have communion. Today we should have baptism. Today anointing, or no. So if the singers are to sing one song, believe you me, and the song should last 5 minutes, don't come and say, I'll repeat it again. You'll do what again? You'll do what again? You won't repeat it again. I will get up and walk up to the stage. You can't do that. Anointing. Anointing is order. Anointing is respect for the presence of God. So you come, the instrumentalists are not ready. They are now testing mic. Eliminate all those things. You see, worship is what you give to God that you don't give to any human being. So a part of me is reserved. This one is for God. It's my best. So you know that the choir is coming up. You are alert. By the time the choir walks, even how the choir will walk up the stage, if they are to take 1 minute and they take 1 minute 30 seconds, I told you precision, time. So you know you are going to sing. You are now at the back. Hey, I lie. Oh, Jufui. I remember I stopped some guy. I said, go back. Just go back. Why do you now run up the stage? For what? In church, you are now running up the stage. If we don't do that, we don't have that behavior there. This is not the streets. Worship is for the presence of the Most High God. So even the response of some of the church members during worship time, they're dancing. We are not before a street, what do you call it? No. I mean, we're taught that you don't even turn your back to a chief. Then you've come before the presence of God, you've turned your back, and you are shaking those things. What things? We must bring decency into the church. And it starts with us. who understand what we are doing and establish protocols. There's a dancing before kings and there's a dancing before streets. The only verse because, and David danced like this. David danced it once on the streets. You cannot take one verse and try and make theology out of it. So not every dancing goes. Not every dancing should be brought into the church. Not every behavior outside should be brought in. We should take the decency out to the world, not just copy them. So worship protocols, the time, the way they appear on stage. If somebody's coming to read something, how you come up on the stage, your poise, your English, your diction, script it. Script it. There's beauty in order, and there's order in beauty. So you are coming up the stage. You know you're supposed to come up the stage. Oh, t-shirt. What's wrong with you? What's wrong with you? No. Once you are coming up this altar, Charlie, reflect the image and the likeness of God. Excellence. The way you speak, the tone in which you speak. You see, that prayer that we even pray in a certain kind of shouting, if you are talking to a king, must you shout unnecessarily in a certain way? I mean, would you do that before Santini? Just because he says, come boldly. So you walk anyhow, boldly. Then you signal anyhow. Then you talk anyhow. You see, there are things that we may do because we are growing, but it mustn't become the norm. We must improve, we must grow, we must get better. So when your child walks into church, your child is a total illiterate, but after a while the transformation begins. The finesse, the poise, the dressing, the culture. Because there's an established protocol of coming to the presence. And when he begins to learn it, he begins to shine as light outside. Then, confidentiality protocols. Sensitive information shared is kept silent, is kept confidential by staff and leaders. So, sometimes, unfortunately, I've been in the middle of this where I hear things that I know they are not true. But because I have a confidentiality privilege, there are things I know that I can never say. Even when everything is against me, I have to keep quiet. Because you see, if I break it and I say, it's not true, it's not true, it's not true, and I come and say the truth, I may escape. But the people will know that Pastor. So sometimes I have to just and just allow integrity to carry on. Because sometimes you need to protect people. You need to. And if you can't study to be quiet, you will destroy a lot of things. So the protocol is that you must learn confidentiality. Number 8, conflict resolution. Develop a process for addressing and resolving conflict within the church. Establish a clear procedure for reporting and addressing concerns. And don't get involved. Don't get involved personally. I think that one of the things that we should learn to do is to devolve ourselves of a conflict situation. If two people are not getting on well, there's a problem. Because I tell my people that when I come in and I speak, very often nobody will say anything. You say, oh, Pastor, so you take the decision and come and tell me that this is what you've done. I may guide you. And why can't pastor? Why can't pastor? Why? Because what I say may be final. You see, so I pretend I don't even know what is going on. So that you will learn to, a few people sit down, talk to them, advise them, counsel them, advise them, blah, blah, blah. So that you'll be free. So that you will learn to Okay? Learn to live well together. Number 9, safety and protocol security. Develop a plan for ensuring the safety and security of the staff, members, and facilities. Establish procedures for emergency response, first aid, and crisis management. If something happens during the church service, what happens? Let's say lights go out. All of a sudden, ashes here. Everybody's running around. No. There must be clear procedures. When the lights go out, this person is the only person who can get up and walk out there. You don't have all the 10 ashes. Everybody's running there. What are you going to do there? And disturb the service. So you need clear, if somebody comes into the church and is walking in, who are the frontliners who will deal with it? What do you do? So you need to train people to be able to handle some of those things so that you don't create panic. Because sometimes it can be very, very panicky. Then, dealing with external agencies like the press. Who speaks to the press? Can anybody in the church speak to the press about a situation? Can everybody in the church speak about if there's a problem with AMA? Can anybody just deal with it? You've got to get people who handle those things. If they are guest ministers, how do you receive them? Protocols. Who talks to them? Because sometimes you have guest ministers who church members create an unwanted problem. You see? So you have a guest minister and then somebody just intrudes into your office. I remember I went to preach somewhere and I decided I won't go back. I was in the office and they were serving. There were about 10 people serving. What are they serving? Then when they finished, they all stood there and started chatting. You see, many ministers are very private people and they don't like intrusions. You see, so when you invite a guest minister, unless he sends for somebody, don't let anybody, manga guest minister. If he calls for somebody, that's different. If he's your friend, why didn't you go to his house? Why didn't you call him all along? Pastor, last Sunday in Kebo, you are come to us as a guest minister for money and embarrass everybody. I went to preach somewhere and I was sitting down and then somebody was giving an announcement or something. That's why we don't give an announcement. Came up the phone, we want to introduce, we should clap, let the guest minister stand up and let's clap for me. What's this? I should stand up and let you clap for me. For what? And then and when I finish preaching now, and let's call the guest minister to come and close us with a pray over the offering or something. You see, when we talk of the dynamics, we'll get into some of those things. There are things that church members don't do. There are things only pastors do. So you need to show the difference so that you don't create unnecessary challenges and problems. Okay? So know your boundaries. Know your limits so that there's order. There's always a hierarchy. And you must allow the hierarchy to perform well. So the first impressions of a church, for example, one of the things I'm working at, we are not perfect, is that you must have first impressions. When somebody comes to the church, what's the protocol? Who does he meet? I call them frontliners. The security man, if there's a security man. How is he dressed? What is his posture? What training does he have? He's always sitting there, sleeping, wearing chalewote. I remember one Sunday morning, I came very early, and there was a security man who was naked, ran from the bathroom to hide behind the bus, totally naked. And I'm like, Choco. So you need to have frontliners. You're laughing. The ushers who stand at the gate and meet. You see, the ushers who meet people, train them to smile, to be helpful. Your toilets, clean them up. Sunday morning, there's water. Because children go to toilets, they don't want to pick up things. And believe you me, there are people who will only come to church because their children are safe. Yeah. So if they come into your toilets, or you don't have toilets. There was a time we didn't have a toilet in this church. But I had to decide that, Charlie, you can't have a church without toilets. So everybody's using his faith to do the wrong things. No. So it's important that you work on some of those things. Your ushers, your frontliners, your security staff, your your secretary, your compound. Keep it clean. If you want rich people to come to your church, understand this carefully. If maybe a managing director comes to visit your church, he sits in an air-conditioned car. He has an air-conditioned office. He has a secretary. He has a lot of things. He has a comfortable home. Then he comes to your church, and then you are sitting on benches, and you are saying your toilets are dirty. There's no usher who is decent. How will he stay? So you need some things to be able to keep a certain level of people. And that's why you invest in the church. You see, you don't understand a lot of things. The protocols must be established to bring in big fish and to get them to stay. And then okay. A poor man doesn't have friends. I didn't write it. Okay, so learn how to conduct yourself. Teach your people to dress well. So when somebody visits you, it's not like Mokoni, eje market no by baso mommy. We want people to come in, but when they come, they must be taught. Because the people you attract will depend on the people who are there. So sometimes you invest in buying chairs, you invest in an air-conditioned office, you invest in ventilation, you invest in some gardens, some flower pots, some projector and things, just to make people feel comfortable. So that they will attract a certain level of people who can also support the church. It's an investment to bring in a certain quality of people. Okay? So all these things are part of the protocols. These protocols ensure that the church operates efficiently, effectively, and with integrity, promoting a positive and spiritual environment. Eliminate all forms of mediocrity and flaws. Create an environment where people are always learning. Haven't you realized that the Holy Ghost is a teacher? So, if he's a teacher, what are we? Students. That's why we sit down, we learn. It's not entertainment. So don't just create and you are always cracking jokes and laughing and nobody's learning. The church is a place to learn. It must be a learning culture. Learn new English words. Read new books. Do new things. Study. Let your young people study. Let them go to school. Let them pass exams. Let them do well. Let them become influential in society. So after 3 years, if you have been a member of the church, there should be a transformation. You were illiterate. After 3 years, you should have a degree. After 3 years, protocols for serving food. Choco, you go for a reception, somebody has food. Food flask. Eliminate that kind of. You think about it carefully. All of you have invited who are here. You are not hungry. So when there's a wedding in church, make sure that the way they serve is not a choco type of serving. Ni madam ita ice chese no. O na kweko na mama je fiu mabu. Eke eje come eke je take away. Who told you that? Serve like you are serving kings. The rest are not clapping behind them. You are serving chicken. I can't eat chicken. Stop that. Stop that. Stop that. Stop that. Stop that. Stop that. We didn't come. That's why I don't attend receptions. We didn't come for a reception because we are hungry. Many of the people sitting here, all of you can go to restaurants and go and eat. So when you invite people, the worst thing to do is to starve them. And as if you are doing them a favor and giving them food. Serve people with dignity because they are made in the image and likeness of God. Treat people well. Learn how to respect people. And establish protocols for all those things.